Welcome in everyone to our Sunday Sessions Sabbatical Series. If you were here last week, you caught the announcement that I'm currently away on sabbatical from our live shows and Discord to focus on building the necessary coursework and training infrastructure for members who want to know more about BridgeCity Global, as well as potential leaders who want to represent BridgeCity's purpose, mission, and values as a part of a growing professional network of secular ministers. Now, as many of you know, we're officially over 30,000 strong, making us one of the fastest growing movements on the planet right now. And that has been primarily in response to the message, our missional commitment, if you will, to be a better way to connect and to build community beyond superstition that is people-centric, progressive thinking, and life-affirming. But with that growth has come a ton of responsibility that we don't have the infrastructure to delegate. Pause and sit in that for a moment. Like, man, literally our influence has outpaced our infrastructure. If you're not too mean, somebody say good problems, good problems. Our influence has outpaced our infrastructure. And the real crux is that we need that what needs to be delegated has to be taken on by people who either already know or are willing to learn more about it than I do. And that's for two reasons. Number one, because I'm wearing so many hats while still trying to do a good job or a decent job of being a father and a husband. I simply don't have that kind of time. That's why I need the help so I can get the time. But also number two, and this is probably the most important, I don't know enough about the areas I need help in to teach someone else how to do it, So yes, can I edit a video and run a live stream? Yes, probably about as well as I can change an alternator. I can get it done for sure, but there's no telling what I'm fucking up in the process. It just has to be done, so I get on my computer and start figuring things out bit by bit because that's what the circumstances demand. But in the absence of infrastructure, the people who show up to help, either have to already know what to do well enough not to require coaching, or we have to be able to provide a scalable training model that empowers people with the information, tools, and resources they need to get started. During this sabbatical, I'm building out the framework for both. Now, if you're feeling compelled to get more involved, if you want to be part of the building process, you've kind of heard how this works so far, your next step is very simple. You're going to start with our BridgeCity 101 course, which we call How We Change the World. It's live and available now at the website, bridge.dldd.us. You can either click the launch icon, the little rocket ship, or you can go to bridge.dldd.us/join.html. If you're in the chat and you're nice, why don't you go ahead and type that for somebody? But that's the foundation. That's where you start. If you want to get involved doing anything with Bridge City, that's where you want to start because you want to make sure that you're actually aligned with what we're trying to do, with what we're trying to accomplish, that this actually makes sense for you. That's the foundation. That's the starting point for this journey. And within a few weeks, we'll be going live with the first few modules of Be Men 101. Yeah, I like that name. Be Men. Bridge Ministry 101. And this is going to be a course for Bridge City ministers, celebrants, or whatever you want to call yourselves. Until I'm back from the sabbatical, I'll still be sharing a new series of videos on Sundays so that our community can still have that weekly touch point of conversation and engagement. And for those of you that are already going through the How We Change the World course, then you already know how important that is. So even though I'm on sabbatical, and this is news alert for those of you who have plans on going through Be Men 101 as it's unveiled, as it rolls out. This would be a great time because I plan on doing these sabbaticals yearly. I'm telling you, man. But this would be a great time to pull somebody from our network of licensed communicators and say, you know what? Hey, Darante is taking a sabbatical for a few weeks. Can you step in for the main conversation? Oh, I'm excited about it just thinking about it. But for those of you that are going through the How We Change the World course now, the BC 101, then you're already looking at, yes, these weekly routine touch points. They're not just cool. They're not just comforting. They're not just convenient. Damn, they're necessary. This is genius. This is a part of our secret sauce. This is that weekly check-in, that weekly touch point where you get reminded that, damn, I am not the only one out here who thinks like this. Where you get reminded, well, okay, no, I'm not the only person out here where this stuff is on my mind. Where you get reminded that I'm not the only person out here who is reaching up, reaching in, and reaching out. Damn, that was good. Where you get to these weekly touch points are a check-in for community that says that, yes, even if that person is across the country, even if that person is in another country, there is somebody else out there who just me knowing that they exist and that they think kind of like me makes it a little bit easier for me to be human. I'm preaching already, man, and we ain't even got into this yet. All right, so today is the first day, is the first of a series of conversations that I'm calling our Sunday Sessions Sabbatical Series. Now, for those of you who are watching for the first time, hello, my name is Darante LaMar. I'm the founder of DLDD World Group and BridgeCity Global. I literally exist, man, to empower people and individuals, and then BridgeCity exists to help people find a better way to connect. And so if you're here for the first time, I hope you're feeling connected, because that's what we exist for. So we're starting this new series, which I'm calling our Sunday Sessions Sabbatical Series, and I'm just going to be dropping these every Sunday while I continue working in the background. And if you're looking like, hey, what can I do to get us back live as soon as possible? Help me with these training courses. But actually, the biggest thing is we do need some production expertise on the team, because I'm not going to stress myself out over these live shows. All right, so over the next few weeks, over the next few weeks, I'm going to be unpacking the mission and the vision of BridgeCity Global, while many of you are actually going through the new course right now, and while at the same time bringing some encouragement, empowerment, and elevation to your weekend. That's really my goal. So let's kind of jump into this. Apparently, YouTube is doing something different with the way that it shows my default sort for comments. So it used to show me comments based on the newest, and now it seems to show the most relevant. And see, it used to be really nice for me because I can go in there and I see my comments. I see the most recent comment, and I actually like that. I got very used to it because then I know, okay, what's the last thing somebody said? What's the most recent thing somebody said under one of these videos? But now I've noticed, and I don't know if they did something differently or if my channel has hit some type of threshold where they changed it around. I don't know how it happened, but it switched up to the way that it shows now is that instead of showing me the newest, it shows me the most relevant. Now, again, I don't know when this switch up happened because I haven't been able to keep up with my comments at least for over the last month and a half. But what has been overwhelming is that the most relevant comments are surprisingly positive. It's actually crazy because so many of them will bring you to tears when I'm reading through these comments and seeing how our channel is having an impact on people, seeing how this content, these conversations, this communication, because honestly, let's be real, let's just say this thing clearly. What I do in this space is so different than what anybody else does in this space that I honestly, I'll be real with you. I feel like the odd man out. Like even when I talk to people, because I'm not I don't hide what the plans are. I've been very open about what the vision for DLDD World Group was, BridgeCity Global, Window Shop Together We Can. I talk about this stuff, Mastermind. I talk about it, and when it comes to BridgeCity, people are like, "Ooh, you doing that? Why would you do that?" And it's like, oh man, it makes you feel like, man, maybe there's no need for this. Maybe there's no space for this. But when you roll through the comments, it's been amazing just to see how much impact we've had. And honestly, my life has been overwhelming for a long time. And for the past decade, I've been in overdrive, hyperdrive, if you will, making up for lost time since my deconversion. So much of what people are calling overnight is actually overdue and required a whole lot of all nights. I don't think y'all heard me when I said that. Like, can I say that one more time? So much of what people are calling overnight, man, he just came out of nowhere. That's just like overnight success, bruh. This is not overnight. This is overdue. From the moment I started sharing my story, I was telling people that it's been a decade of processing after 2 decades of deconstructing. Y'all don't want to hear me. So no, this took a lot of all-nighters. This is not overnight, baby. This is overdue. And so even as I'm leaning in full speed ahead to get our Bridge City ministry training up and available, I'm finally also getting some space to breathe so that I can actually survey and appreciate the impact that we're having. I was not sure of what would be on the other side of walking away from nearly 2 decades of ministry. I was even less sure of what would happen on the other side of stepping out of the closet of my atheism and sharing my perspective of humanism and community and critical thinking with the world. For much of my life, and this is real, y'all, I have feared my own freedom. I feared who I would be if a God was not at the helm of my humanity. But I've spent the past decade living without a God, and the past year publicly sharing my godless thoughts and perspective with anyone with the time to tune in. And quite honestly, as I share in my welcome video, this has been a breathing experience for me. This has just been me breathing in my reality and getting comfortable with who I'm becoming. And after reading through a significant portion of comments in reference to how this work is impacting people on a personal level, I gotta say, I think I like who I'm becoming. And that's really the big point, isn't it? That Bridge City isn't an invitation to believe. It's an invitation to become, baby. I hope you're ready for this. And so today's conversation is for every single one of you who in your newfound freedom is committed to loving who you're becoming. So if you're not too mean, if you're not too stuck up, if you're not too bougie, bourgeoisie, or however else you want to say it, will you tag somebody in the chat? If you're watching live and if you're watching later, just pick somebody to tag in the comments and say, hey, you, I think I like who I'm becoming. Go ahead and tag somebody and say, yep, I think I like who I'm becoming. Damn it, I like who I'm becoming. That makes me think of that Annie movie where she says, you know what, I think I'm gonna like it here. That's how I feel in myself right now. I feel like, damn, as I'm stretching out in myself, as I am unfolding in me, I think I like who I'm becoming. I think I'm gonna like it here. When I sit down in myself, when I sit with my emotions, when I think about myself, I'm like, damn, I think I'm gonna like it here. I hope y'all like this. Did you do it? Did you tag somebody? I can see you now. Go ahead, tag somebody and say, I think I like who I'm becoming. Find a way to say it in the emoticons and the emojis. I don't know what the things are called for real. But let's get this message out here. Let's let people know that we at Bridge City, that we over here, we proud and we loud. And I think I like what we're becoming. So let's jump into it. Becoming is not only the entire point, it's the major line of demarcation between BridgeCity Global and superstitious religious frameworks. Our conversations and our support isn't connected to what anyone does or doesn't believe. You get that? Yep, nope. Our connections are not based on what you believe, what you are believing. Though I'm an atheist, being an atheist is not a requirement for connection. Nope, it's not even a requirement for service because belief is not the point of alignment. I really don't care what you believe. Your beliefs are a reflection of your response to your lived experience, which outside of having an actual relationship with you, I would have no ability or time to interrogate in good faith. So why even have that as a conversation? Forget what do you believe. Tell me, what are you becoming? Tell me, what are you working on? Tell me, what are you passionate about right now? What keeps you up at night? What do you see yourself as on the other side of possibility? Who are you becoming? And do you find the message and methodology of Bridge City to be helpful, productive, fruitful, or otherwise in alignment with who you're becoming? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I don't care what you believe. Believe is so, it's so subjective, it's so speculative, it's so imaginative. We will all have different types of beliefs. So why center a movement on something so shallow? I really don't care what you believe. What you believe is going to change from day to day, as it should, baby. What I'm more interested in is, who are you becoming, and do you like who you're becoming? Are we having good conversation yet? Y'all talk back to your boy. I'm watching you in the chat. Holla at you. That's our point of connection. Becoming, not believing. You know what I'm saying? The question is, oh God, not do you like what Bridge City believes? Do you like what we're becoming? Have you ever thought about that before? Watch this. Do you like what I'm becoming? Have you ever asked somebody else that question? Have you ever sat the people down in your life who you love and say, hey, do you like who I'm becoming? I mean, I know you like me now, but do you like who I'm becoming? I mean, I know you loved me then, but do you like who I'm becoming? Because I'm not just a human being, I'm a human becoming. I'm not just going to be stuck at this same place. I'm not always, look, watch this. I'm probably not always going to be this nice. I'm probably not always going to be this smooth. I don't know what it is about me that may be different tomorrow, but the question that I want to put on your mind this weekend is, do you like who I'm becoming? I challenge you to start asking people that, who you're in relationship with. No, do you like who I'm becoming? Because again, I'm not just a human being, baby. I'm a human becoming. I'm not just being, I'm becoming. I'm not just stuck in who I was yesterday. I'm becoming. I'm not even just stuck in who I am today. I'm becoming. As I like to say now, I update my realism in real time. Oh my goodness. This is why a major part of our mission is not just building community beyond superstition, but building community that is progressive thinking, which means I'm always open to understanding that what I thought to be true yesterday may be false today. Why? Because, baby, I'm not just being, I'm becoming. That's what makes me flexible. That's what makes me nimble. That's what makes me adaptable, adjustable. Man, this is the secret sauce. I'm giving free game right now. Free game. Holla if you hear me. Hey, I got the hookup. All right, y'all ready? So this brings me to our first point for the weekend, and I hope y'all are feeling this. Let's go. This brings me to our first point of the weekend. Happy Sunday if you're just coming in. What's up? If you're just coming in, this brings me to our first point of the weekend. We're shifting from believing to becoming. All right. Now, this is the shift that changes everything. This is a major line of demarcation between what BridgeCity Global does and what superstitious religious frameworks do. Is that we are not operating off of a framework of belief. We're operating off of a framework of becoming. Believing equals adopting a pre-made answer. I don't feel comfortable with pre-made answers. Belief, especially in religious, political, and cultural systems, is often about accepting someone else's conclusion. You are told what truth is, what life means, who you are. And the goal becomes to align yourself with that belief, to submit, to conform, and to repeat. It's static. You pass or you fail. You're in or you're out. You're saved or you're lost. Belief is often a membership requirement, not a mirror of your lived experience. So what happens when that belief doesn't match your reality? See, that's actually where becoming begins. This is why so many people right now are gravitating to Bridge City as a movement, and many of the people that are secretly connecting to this movement are still believers. They are still theists. They still have these beliefs about supernaturalism and all of those things. But the thing for them is what they're realizing is that those paradigms that are based on belief do not match their reality, and the dissonance is becoming so strong that it's getting hard to even live day to day without figuring out what the fuck is going on. And so that's why they come in here and listen to my vulgar ass talk about the things that I'm talking about. Damn, this is good, y'all, because they're realizing that belief doesn't match their reality. And so what's happening is, oh, damn it, if I wanted to throw some woo in it, I'd say the universe is inviting you to become. But in all reality, it's just you're in a sense, you're waking up to the possibility that there might be more. So I think that's the thing, that's one of the things that often doesn't get talked about in conversations of deconstruction, is that one of the most exciting things about deconstructing for me, like, you know, people say, oh, if you're an atheist, you must be sad because you believe it's a dark, cold, lonely world. And I'm like, there's still 8 billion people on the planet. They don't disappear just because I no longer believe in the person who I never saw in the first place. Nope. Everything is as is. As a matter of fact, what just happened when I deconstructed, and this is just me, this is my story, and I'm gonna tell it like I tell it. But what happened for me prior to that moment, life was in a box. And I had to figure out how not to get outside of that box in order to stay within the confines of life. You know what I'm saying? But then after that, once I deconstructed, the box was moved, the cap was gone, the limits were gone. And then I realized, holy shit, man, we're capable, okay? So this is where becoming begins. Believing in too many contexts has become code word for pretending. And the longer people are stuck in believing, they'll waste time pretending to be what they could have invested time in becoming. Why believe what I could just become? Why take your word for it when I could do the work to see for myself? Listen, y'all, I'm done with believing. I'm doing the work to become. I wish I had just maybe 15 witnesses out there that would drop in the chat real quick. I think I like who I'm becoming. What am I believing for when I can just become? I can check it myself. I can verify myself. As the old folks in the church used to say, I can run on and see what the end is going to be. Why believe when I can become? Because becoming equals embracing a living process, while believing equaled accepting a pre-made answer, somebody else's conclusion. Becoming is me accepting, embracing even the fact that this is a living process for me. And this is something that I've actually gotten really comfortable with. So I'm okay when I don't know what somebody else knows, when I haven't gone through what somebody else went through to get that. Nope, I'm embracing my process as a living process, which also means I'm never gonna let anybody judge me for not knowing something I ain't even tried to know. Like, how did you not know this? Because that shit wasn't interesting to me. That's how I don't know Lord Farquaad. That's why I don't know, motherfucker. So becoming, I hope this is helping somebody. Becoming equals embracing a living process. Becoming is dynamic. It doesn't require a final answer. It requires presence and movement. When I move, you move. Just like that. Move, trick, I'll say the nice word, get out the way. Get out the way, trick, get out the way. You saw how I did that. So it's not about what you've accepted. It's about what you're becoming aware of, what you're reaching for, and what you're transforming into. Becoming says, I'm not a finished product. I'm not somebody's pre-made design. I'm not frozen in a doctrine. I am growing in wisdom, in healing, and in honesty. There is no prototype or archetype for who I am or who I'm able to be or even what I'm able to do. As a member of the human family, a descendant of the great apes, the living proof of an uninterrupted line of living beings who survived long enough to pass on the mystery of me, I am capable of exceeding expectations. We are not just storytellers. We are record breakers. We are meaning makers. You got to know who you are. Do you ever sit in that and just wonder? That's the beauty for me. This is why I do this again. I did not stop being a pastor just because it was wrong. I didn't stop being a pastor just because it was inaccurate. I didn't stop being a pastor just because it was false. I stopped being a pastor because I recognized the sociological harm that such a doctrine has had on people long-term, generationally, that we have people so busy caught up in believing that they don't even know how to become. They can't even see their own greatness, can't even appreciate their own capacity, can't even pat themselves on their own back because they're too busy giving away credit to their imaginary friend to ever truly know how strong they are. I came to let you know you are a bad somebody. Again, baby, we're not just the storytellers. We are the record breakers. We're not a finished product. We are a work in progress. We're a story still going, still unfolding. And that's exciting to me. I feel it breaks my heart that we allowed people to paint this view of atheism, of critical thinking, of humanism as something so dark and devoid of hope and devoid of clarity and devoid of meaning and devoid of purpose, joy, and passion. You're looking at me, I'm a ball of all of it, man, because the world we live in is a beautiful place and we occupy a wonderful space in the speck of life. That's a wonderful thing to be. To me, I don't know. I don't know you. Like I said, this is my story and I'm sticking to it. I don't know what yours is, but God damn it, I'm excited every day I get to wake up. It's another chance to have impact. It's another opportunity for me to keep rising. It's another opportunity for me to be the bridge. See, the difference between us and religion, us and politics, and us and your preferred political or cultural persuasions is that we honor diversification over duplication. We're not making disciples. We're not making dependents. We're deepening our relationships with each other in ways, dang, this is so good, in ways that connection does not demand conformity. No, we're not interested in duplication. I'm more interested in diversification. I think y'all have heard me mention through several conversations that a major part of my deconversion, man, is that I have no need for someone else to live my experience. I have no need for somebody else to live my desires. I have no need for anybody else to live my expectations. And I say it that way because that's often what we do. We look at other people. I wouldn't wear that, but that's not you. I mean, obviously, why would you even look at somebody else and start thinking about what you wouldn't do when it's not your life? No, I have no need for that because this was me. This was for me. When I deconverted, my thought was, what other bullshit do I believe? And so I started going down that rabbit trail of what other stuff is coming out of my mouth that's not attached to actual reason. You know what I'm saying? And that's when I started realizing, like, holy shit, I don't need anybody else to live my preferences. I don't need anybody else to live my values. I don't need anybody else to live my convictions. They're my convictions. And the beauty of life is that by me being able to see other people live their values, live their convictions, it gives me something to bounce my values off of and determine if it's time to update or not. You see what I'm saying? So no, we're not interested in creating something where everybody looks like me, talks like me, thinks like me. It's like, oh, good Bishop. Look at that. Look at that. Everybody look like Bishop now. No, fuck that shit. No. Like I realized a long time ago, I told my wife shortly after we got married, and I said, man, some people's thirst is for power. And I realized this is why it was hard for me to tap into that competitive aspect. I couldn't get competitive because power always seems so shallow to me, so temporary. It doesn't really last. makes you a target. And the word really never means what the word means. And so I finally realized about a decade ago that my hunger, my thirst, it isn't for fame. It isn't for power. It's for knowledge. It's just to learn, man. And I begin to realize that one of the most powerful ways that I could learn, other through failing is a beautiful way to learn, y'all. But one of the most powerful ways that I could learn is through the lived experiences of others who were choosing to live out their authentic truths. You know, like, damn, I hope that's not too deep for y'all, man. I hope that's not too deep. But the big point is connection should not demand conformity. Becoming is evolution over indoctrination. We're not telling you who to be, how you should be. We're creating a space, an ecosystem, an ecology, if you will, where we can all see. Remember, the goal is to be a better way to connect. We're creating a better framework, a better boat, if you will. I think we're going to need a bigger boat. We're creating that bigger boat where the goal isn't to tell everybody who to be and how to be, but the goal is to craft space, to cultivate an environment where everybody has the safety and the space to grow at their own pace, man, and to grow into whatever possibilities they see. And maybe if you're growing in one direction for a few months and you say, you know what, I don't like that, you have the freedom to switch it up as you want to, because this is evolution, not indoctrination. Becoming honors curiosity over conformity. Oh, that's so good. Compassion over correctness. Courage over certainty. You know, belief says, if I get it wrong, I'm doomed. Becoming says, if I keep growing, I can't lose. One is rooted in fear and finality. The other is rooted in curiosity and capacity. And those are two of my favorite things. These are two of my favorite things. I couldn't help it. It was there. It was there. What do you expect me to do? Okay, I'm back. So belief tends to group people based on agreement. And, you know, as a former pastor, I would, my former self, I can feel it popping up now. Well, how can two walk together lest they be agreed? But I realized, like, because I went to school in the South and I went to school in Maryland and DC, and many times I had to walk to the school bus in DC or in Maryland. I had to walk to the school, and you know what? Funny thing, I walked to school every day with people that I didn't really agree with, because a lot of times all you have to do, if the disagreements are not important or they're not pressing, they're irrelevant, they're not relevant, you don't talk about the things you don't agree about. So yes, it's actually quite easy for people to walk together even without having agreement, because the question is, see, that the trick is the period. And I don't like when people I like complete sentences. Like, it's like now when people find out I'm an atheist, which is, I mean, it's kind of obvious now, right? But when people find out I'm an atheist, like, what do you believe? It's like, if you don't believe in God, what do you believe? And it's just like, that's not a complete sentence. I know you think it's a complete sentence, like the same way that a third grader would think it's a complete sentence, but that's not a complete sentence. Unless you're asking me my theory of everything, you understand? Which I'd really hope you're not asking me that, because you don't even have a theory of everything, you know? So unless you're asking me my theory of everything, which I have some hypotheses, I don't want to call them hypotheses, I have some speculations, you know? I have some things there. But no, you're asking me a very specific question. So ask me the specific question. What you're asking me is what do I believe about God? And then I don't. And then that's just disappointing for you, because in your mind, if you don't believe in God, you have to fill that hole with something else. But when I stopped believing in Santa, I did not have to replace Santa with the tooth fairy. I found no need to say, okay, well, if I don't believe in Santa Claus anymore, well, now I got to go out there and find, the leprechauns and the Lucky Charms, because I just got to have something that gives me that childlike. No, I did not feel that need at all. So when I stopped believing in God To me, and I hope I'm not offending anybody. Actually, I don't hope I'm not. I don't care if I am or not. But to me, God became such a useless variable that there was no need to replace it. If this variable doesn't do anything, what am I replacing it for? It's like going into a closet and finding a shirt that used to be your favorite shirt, and then you realize you ain't wore it in like 10 years. Baby, this ain't your favorite shirt no more. Throw it away. So that's what I did. Okay. All right, so the big point here, I don't know how we got all the way on that rabbit trail. Is this good, y'all? Will you let me know in the chat how you're enjoying this today, man? Let me know. I'm watching. I'm watching you. But the big point is belief tends to group people based on agreement. Becoming invites people to connect through shared growth. In BridgeCity Global, we're not saying, do you believe what I believe? We're asking, are you becoming who you want to be? Can we build something together? Can we build something better? This opens the door for radical inclusion and authentic connection, where nobody feels the pressure of agreement for connection, where nobody feels the pressure of conformity for connection. And literally, especially if you go back and look at some of our old documents, you'll see this. This is a part of a major part of what we've built into the value system of Bridge City is that disagreement should not lead to disconnection. It doesn't have to. I mean, I get it. Sometimes it can get there, but I think we should all agree if we're trying to be healthy, that should be the minority of things that we're disagreeing about that lead to disconnection. Because most times those things that we do disagree about, like I got things I disagree with people about, and the question of utility for me becomes, do you have any power to make that shit happen? And if you don't, then I really don't care. My job becomes to keep you from getting in power at that moment. You know what I'm saying? All right, that got a little deep. I know, come back. I see y'all dropping, come back. Now let me stop. Let's roll. So, religious belief often claims to solve the big questions. Why am I here? What happens when I die? Who or what is in control? Becoming doesn't pretend to have all the answers. It dares to live the questions. It builds a life of meaning, not on certainty, but on engagement. Becoming embraces the sacredness of progress, the holiness of honesty, the divinity of development, if you will. You know, you don't need a belief to be a builder. You don't need a label to love. You don't need certainty to serve, and you don't need permission to grow. Becoming is a lifelong ceremony, and your life is the altar. And your life is the altar. I don't know why I wanted to say author. It was just coming. But that works too. So I got a few questions for you that I want you to reflect on before we move into this next part. What did you used to believe that you've now outgrown? What are you becoming that you never thought was possible? You know, think on these questions. You can respond to them in the chat, in the comments, in the Discord, or maybe in your own journal. All right, so y'all ready for the next point of the weekend? So now, not only are we shifting from believing to becoming, we're also shifting from burning to building. And this is all about bridges versus altars. See, and I know like this one is going to be a hard one for some of y'all. So go ahead and loosen up now. Go ahead and breathe. As we say on the Daily Atheist Morning Show, sometimes let's get jellical a little bit. Let's get jiggy with it, all right? We're not looking for something to burn. We're looking for something to build, all right? Burning is the symbol of rejection. It's the symbol of rage and release. Now, when people leave harmful belief systems, there's often a burning phase. Burning bridges with toxic relationships, burning altars we were once forced to kneel before, burning old identities, expectations, and doctrines. Hell, like for a while, I had to do a whole damn eulogy on my former identity as Pastor Ron. PR, I had to let people know, let me do the eulogy for this motherfucker. PR is dead, and he never ever coming back. He gone. You know what I'm saying? He gone, y'all. He gone. You know? And for a while, that burn feels necessary. It is necessary. It's heat. It's honesty. It's a fire of liberation. But if you're not careful, burning becomes the end game instead of the catalyst. You start looking for new things to destroy, instead of new things to design. Your identity stays tied to what you're against and not what you're building. See, building is the work of visionaries, healers, and dare I say, hope carriers. Building is slower than burning. It takes blueprints, it takes patience, it takes cooperation, it takes that word that I like to use a lot that sometimes people don't like that starts with the W. It takes work, but it creates something you can live in, not just something you leave behind. Burning is easy and it's fun. And again, I'll remind you, it's liberating. But building must come next. Building takes courage because building requires believing in a future worth showing up for. You know, the question is, what are we centering? Are we centering as a movement, as a community? Are we centering altars or are we centering bridges? You know, altars, when I think about them, are built to commemorate sacrifice, often demanding death to prove devotion, and center a system of worthy versus unworthy, keeping people divided, clean versus unclean, saved versus lost. In the altar worldview, someone always has to die to make it sacred. But bridges are built to connect and carry. They don't require a sacrifice, just intention and, most importantly, alignment. They're designed for movement, not control. They make space for difference, dialogue, and destiny. In the bridge worldview, everyone gets to cross. That feels good. That should be a whole commercial right now. Welcome to the bridge, where everybody gets to cross. But then it also has a little death cult ringish to it, too. It's like crossing over into the afterlife. So we got to figure out a way to clarify that. Anyway, neurospicy alert. All right, so we're not here to burn down the world. We're here to build a better one. We've already sacrificed enough. Our peace, our autonomy, our time, our truth. Now it's time to construct something that can carry us forward. Burning may be what brought you here, but building is what keeps you here. Our fire doesn't have to destroy, it can forge. Our pain doesn't have to isolate, it can unify. You know? So what's one altar you were taught to revere, but now choose to walk past? What's one bridge you're ready to help build for yourself or for someone else? And I hope Bridge City is one of those bridges. All right. So let's keep moving right along. Not only are we shifting from believing to becoming and from burning to building, but we're also shifting from bruising to breathing. This is about cultivating life versus causing harm. So we're not just acknowledging the hurt, we're healing the harm. I think that's also a very purposeful and proactive difference between the work that BridgeCity Global does and also the work that Secular Rising US is doing as well, between the work we're aiming to do and many other organizations, what we're hoping is that other organizations will realize that you can be flexible enough to adopt some of this stuff into your operations as well. But I think a part of what makes us somewhat effective, or at least attractive, is that we're not just offering, hey, here's all the pain, let's point it out. We're at least trying to offer some type of infrastructure of help. Some type of infrastructure of hope, which is not a word that I use too often. I do not find much utility in the word hope, but I do find that people are getting some sense of hope from the framework that we're offering, because they're starting to realize that, oh, no, we don't have to sit on the sidelines. We can get in the game. We can still make a difference. There are people who imagine lives where they'd be helping people, and then they deconstruct it, and now they have no idea, or felt like they had no idea, what they were going to do with themselves now, and for the first time in a long time, because they're seeing what's happening through Bridge City, because they're seeing what's happening on this channel because they're getting exposed to the work of DLDD World Group. They're realizing that, oh, that was never God, that was never religion, that was me, and me is still necessary. Am I preaching to somebody right now who just felt a little bit of encouragement where you just got reminded that me is still necessary? It wasn't God that had me up at 3 o'clock in the morning praying for people because I was concerned. That was my concern for people. The methodology was flawed, but the motive was me. Can I say that one more time? The methodology was flawed, but the motive was me. It was not God that had me at the hospitals praying for people. It was not God that had me organizing events for people. It was not God that kept me up putting together those sermons. No, it was my concern, my compassion, my consideration for humanity. The methodology was flawed, but the motive was all me. And so I get to keep the motive and upgrade the methodology. Y'all, I am preaching better than y'all responding. God damn, this got good in here. All right. Oh my goodness. Dang, it ain't live, but it feels live, don't it? All right, let's go. Let's go. All right, so, bruising is what happens when you've been hit. All right. Maybe not hard enough to break you, but enough to mark you with a memory of the pain, a memory of that moment. It might have been a comment that cut deep, a sermon that shamed you, a community that excluded you for asking too many questions, or maybe just for being too much of yourself. And trust me, your boy knows what that feels like. But people just be like, you just too much for me. Well, I'm not for you at all. I'm just me. Bruising represents emotional, social, and psychological trauma that hasn't fully healed. You're out of the system, but the system's still in you. You're free from the fire, but still flinch at the smell of the smoke. Bruising doesn't need to be visible to be real. It shows up in avoidance, hypervigilance, silence when you used to sing, doubt where there used to be joy. And here's the danger. If we don't name and tend to the bruise, we unconsciously repeat the impact, either toward ourselves or others. So breathing becomes the practice of choosing life over reaction. Oh, that's so good. Breathing is a symbol of healing, softness, spaciousness, and safety. It's how we return to ourselves. It's how we make room for others. Where bruising collapses space, breathing expands it. In religious trauma, we often learn to hold our breath, waiting to be judged, bracing for rejection, expecting pain in holy places. But in Bridge City, we're saying you don't have to flinch here. You can exhale. Harm isn't just about malice. It's often about neglect. It's the failure to design spaces with care. In toxic environments, harm gets minimized. Well, nobody's perfect. God is still working on them. That's just how the church is. But here's our ethic. Acknowledging the bruise is not enough. We must change the patterns that cause the injury. BridgeCity Global isn't a place to simply vent your wounds. It's a place to heal with intention. We breathe life into consent culture, emotional safety, authentic connection, and restorative communication. You know, we designed this space like a lung. It inhales people from all walks of life. It holds them in a rhythm of trust and renewal, and it exhales people into the world more whole than when they came. This is a space where we say, you've been hurt long enough. Now let's breathe again. So I have a few questions for you. Where are you still holding your breath? Socially, emotionally, even relationally? And then what kind of community culture helps you breathe more freely? And I'm really interested in your thoughts there. So please make sure you share this in the chat and in the comments. What kind of community culture helps you breathe more freely? And then what does it mean to be a breath giver instead of a bruise passer? All right, I got 2 more points for you before we head out for the weekend. All right, so we're also shifting, and y'all probably should have saw this one coming. Are you ready? From bitter to better. All right. All right. So we're not just deconstructing from a lie, we're reconstructing based on a better understanding. All right. Bitterness often begins as a byproduct of betrayal. When you realize that what you built your life around wasn't as true, kind, or healthy as you were told, it's the moment you realize that you were taught to shrink in the name of holiness. You were loved conditionally, or your questions weren't welcome, only your submission. And that hurts. That bitterness is real. It's valid. It's earned. It's the residue of spiritual and religious and emotional betrayal. But if you're not careful, beloved, bitterness becomes your identity instead of your memory. Damn. You become a mirror of what you walked away from. Hard, reactive, closed. And that's not what you deserve. Better is the choice to rebuild with care and clarity. Better doesn't mean ignoring the lie, it means learning from it. Where bitterness reacts, better responds. Where bitterness closes off, better clears space. Where bitterness centers rage, better channels resolve. Better isn't just about moving on, it's about moving forward. Deconstruction is about tearing down what was false or harmful. Reconstruction is about building something more human, more honest, and more whole. Think of it this way. My deconstruction acknowledges the harm and how I'm letting go. My reconstruction appreciates the healing and how I'm getting up. So better doesn't mean perfect, it means progressing. It means doing the work to understand why the lie worked in the first place and how to build something that gives me some type of immunity to it. It's asking what's worth holding on to and what must be made new. This is where the values of Bridge City come in. Curiosity over certainty, community over conformity, purpose over performance, and even healing over hustle. We don't need to recreate religion. We need to reclaim our humanity. So my questions for you are, what are you reconstructing now that feels more true to who you are? I know for me, Bridge City is a major part of that. Doing the work that we've been doing with Bridge City over the past year has felt more true to me than anything I did in 2 decades of ministry. Another question is, where have you seen yourself choose better, even when bitter felt easier? And what does better look like in your relationships, your value, and your daily life? Bitterness is a signal. It's not a destination. Better is where the future lives, and we're building it together. Okay, let's get ready to close this thing out strong. We've shifted from believing to becoming, from burning to building, from bruising to breathing, and from bitter to better. Now, we're shifting from bouncing to belonging. And I hope you're ready to lean in close on this one. When I think of bouncing, I think of the exhaustion of survival. Bouncing is what happens when you're caught between survival and searching. It's the constant movement without grounding, rushing to recover from loss, scrambling to repair what was broken, chasing stability that always feels one step out of reach. Bouncing is living in reaction to harm instead of building from healing. It keeps you busy, but disconnected, full of motion, but empty of arrival. You're surviving without settling, existing without belonging. Belonging doesn't happen when everything around you gets perfect. It happens when you start trusting what's growing inside you. It's the shift from living out of fear to living out of formation, from living out of default to living out of your own design. Belonging is not about finding a perfect place. It's about finding the space to like and live inside the person you're becoming. At BridgeCity Global, belonging is not based on arrival at a destination. It's based on honoring the journey of becoming wiser without growing harder, becoming fuller without shrinking yourself, becoming human without apology. Bouncing says, keep running because you're still behind. But belonging says, keep growing because you're already becoming. One ties your worth to urgency. The other ties your worth to existence. In religious environments, belonging was often conditional. Belong if you believe exactly like us. Belong if you can perform holiness correctly. Belong if you disappear the parts of yourself that don't fit. But in BridgeCity Global, belonging is reimagined. Belong because you are in a process, not despite it. Belong because you are building, not burning. Because you're breathing, not bruising. Because you're not here to conform. We belong because we continue. So you don't have to fix yourself to find belonging. You don't have to finish becoming to be welcome. You don't have to bounce anymore. You can build. BridgeCity Global is not a holding tank for the healed, nor is it a museum for those who've already made it. It's a living space for those committed to the process of belonging and becoming. So where in your life are you still bouncing out of survival? What would it mean to belong to the person you're becoming? And what spaces help you rest in growth instead of running from pain? Maybe you've spent years trying to believe what didn't believe in you. Maybe your hands are tired from burning bridges, breaking ties, or bracing for impact. Maybe you've carried enough bruises and you've carried them for so long that they've started to feel like your identity. Maybe the bitterness got louder than your dreams. But today is not about what broke you. It's about what you're building, about what you're becoming. You're not here because you have all the answers. You're here because something inside you still believes in becoming. So here's your invitation, not to kneel before an altar, but to connect to a bridge, not to sacrifice yourself for someone else's version of truth, but to breathe your way back into your own, not to sit in the bitterness of what was, but to rise into the better that's still possible. This is your bridge moment, not to surrender your doubts, but to honor your growth, not to burn something down, but to build something new, not to be ashamed of your bruises, but to breathe because healing is happening. Not to perform holiness, but to practice wholeness. So if you're ready to shift from believing to becoming, from burning to building, from bruising to breathing, from bitter to better, and from bouncing to belonging, then say it with me. I'm not who I was. I'm not yet who I will be, but I'm becoming. I think I like who I'm becoming. This is Bridge City. This is your breath. This is your bridge to better. Thank you for joining Sunday Sessions today. If this message resonated with you, consider taking the How We Change the World course to take the first step to becoming an active member of BridgeCity Global. I love you all, and until next time, keep rising.